Mario, a household name in, well, households across the world. From his first appearance in 1981 to the most recent releases of 2024, whether from nostalgia, infamy, or copious amounts of Rule 34, the Mario franchise has ensured that not a single title would remain in obscurity forever. This is the story of the one exception. The one game that managed to slip through the cracks of history, Super Mario 14. Alright, cut the cutesy space intro and let's get right into the brass tacks. I know what you're thinking. Does this guy think I'm dumb? There's no such thing as a Mario 14. Well, guess what? There it is. Right there. We're looking at it right now. It's the background. But Ryab, you say, because you are in fact dumb and don't realize I can't hear you through the screen? This can't be real. You're kind of right, but hear me out. A little while after Christmas, I noticed something interesting that had gone unseen. A present in the corner that no one had opened. There was no name on the package, so I decided to see what it was for myself. There was no note inside, no packaging either. Just a small handheld console. Because this is real life and not a trashy early 2000s creepypasta, it was actually just a normal game console that someone had forgotten. Instead of Ben Drowned or Sonic.exe, I found hundreds of old arcade games ranging from Super Mario Bros. To Street Fighter to Mario 14. That's new. Sure enough, that was Mario, and yet something felt off. Maybe it was the cultural appropriation of an Italian man acting like a ninja, or the fact that the trademark just named a fictional character. No, those could just be simple mistakes. The real nail in the coffin, the M in Mario was a light yellow instead of the normal pleasant red. I quickly realized that this was no ordinary Mario game. Yeah, there were Goombas, but when I tried to jump on them, I got hurt. Instead, I found that Mario had this weird stick that could flick beans at enemies. Something was definitely wrong here. I put on my detective hat and went to the one place I always do hard research, YouTube. Surprisingly, the game had a small community, with both a full playthrough that I could use for background footage and even a speed run. I watched from a distance. I took notes on my phone, whispering so that the YouTubers whose video I was watching couldn't hear me through the screen. They were speaking in a strange, otherworldly code, and the comments repeated the same obscure dialect. I wasn't getting anywhere with this. What about the game itself? I turned back to it for clues. For a while it seemed hopeless. The further into the game I got, the less and less it seems like Mario. The turtles became bananas, the mushrooms became keys, the Goombas developed a foot fetish. It was honestly hard to watch as my favorite world continued to become more twisted and sick. That was when I found it. Him. During certain animations, Mario would fade out and he would take his place. Most of these transitions were relatively quick, but I found the most visible are when climbing this waterfall, when sliding, and when attacking the ground. Clearly, this impersonator was a professional. The limited images I've had of him barely told me much. Who was this? Just 16 pixels stood between me and the answers I was looking for. I only knew of one way I could find out. Who are you? Nothing. I was completely out of options. That is, until I found a breakthrough in my research. Gaming Legend 1628 posted a video that just so happened to be recommended during my research. I had ignored it because the title says, not Mario 13. But upon reviewing the footage, I noticed that this character looks somewhat familiar. Sure enough, there he was. And I had the name to go on now, Ness. But why was this game made? And why Mario? Yanshimaru 3 was a Japanese game released in early 1993. The original game, Kid Niki, Radical Ninja, had released and actually seen moderate success abroad. Yanshimaru 3 never received an international release. The trouble was, during the 90s, gaming was undergoing somewhat of a stagnation. The NES in particular had become notorious for producing near-identical horizontal platformer games, and Kid Niki didn't really stand out. The solution was simple. Make a new, innovative game. Or just add Metaton, swap a few sprites, and call it a day. Well, I can only guess this was the reason behind the change. In my research, I found that there was actually a whole lucrative market of just flipping games and releasing them into countries where they don't normally have access to them. If you're interested, there's a whole bootleg games archive that you could check out with hundreds of entries of stuff like this. So with that being said, that's it. That's the story of Mario 14. Sure, we'll never know exactly who made it, or why it was made, or why I made this video. But it was a fun mystery to explore, and I feel happy coming out of this knowing a little bit more about how bootleg games are made. Speaking of mysteries, why not answer the mystery of why Pal World is in trouble? I promise, it's something that you probably hadn't even considered until now. So skedaddle on over there, you meddling kids.